Peter and the Secret of Dune, this was his first sketch of that big sort of epic desert scene. But we pointed out that this is really less about Peter flying, and it's more about Peter flying on a magic carpet. So Peter had to be on the carpet. And Dave pointed out that there's a snake floating around threatening everyone, and as you saw, this is what we ended up getting out of it. Peter gets moved onto the carpet and the snake appears. And now Zarboff is seen down here under the umbrella too. That was another important thing.
He's the one who shouldn't have been standing under the camel.
Yeah. He doesn't live like that anymore. We've also done these smaller books, I don't know if you've read them, called Neverland books, which are about 100 pages, and Peter and Molly are off doing other things, so it's just the Lost Boys, the natives, the pirates. This is the third one, and there's the mermaids that come out of Star Stuff, and so ours have sort of, you know, fish teeth, and they're not the sweet mermaids you think of. Or in this one, they've gotten ill, and they're challenging the native girls. And Greg had a fabulous scene, but he's sort of covering up the native girls. So if you watch this hand, he moves it over to this side so that we can see more of the native girl. And then he said, I think it'll be more apparent to you if I show you the background and define it a little more. And so he did that, and it did. It started to come to life. And he said, but when it's really going to make a difference for you is when I color it. And check this out. And it just totally comes to life. There's one scene in one of the books where we have to explain how it is that Hook ends up flying a ship rather than sailing a ship. How does a ship become sort of a plane? And Greg read that scene, which takes place over Neverland Island, and really liked it. The ship at that point is filled with star stuff and is glowing, and this is the scene he gave us. I always thought it was really cool. So those are just some examples of how sort of a brilliant illustrator can bring your words to life.
Anyway, I don't think we have any more to tell you about us or how we wrote the books, so we're glad to answer any questions you have about the book. Yeah?
How did Neverland become separated from the world?
Well, we have to deal with that. And we've been talking about it more and more, because you're right. It should be visible to the world. It's an island. In the books that we've written so far, in each book, it does come into contact with the world. Guys find it in sailing ships. But the question we were asking, it's interesting you bring this up, is now that we get into modern times when there's like satellites and airplanes, where did Neverland go? It's still out there. So we're going to write a book. We actually just thought about this last week.
Search for Neverland.
Where Neverland might be right now, if anywhere. And so I can't give you the answer to your question, but we think we have an answer.
You'll have an answer.
Yeah, go ahead.
Will there be a sequel to Science Fair?
Will there be a sequel to Science Fair? I don't know. You're about a lot of kids have been asking that question, so that makes me want to think maybe there should be. We did end that one in a way that you probably thought there was going to be something else, right? That was the idea. Yeah, we call it a cliffhanger. So maybe is the definitive answer. Yes.
Which is your favorite book in the Starcatchers?
Which is our favorite book in the Starcatchers? I don't have a favorite. I mean, honestly, we get that asked almost every time. And at each one we do, I think it's a separate whole experience
we
writing it.
We had a lot of fun writing this one.
Yeah.
And it's the one that's freshest in our mind, so I think right now that's our favorite one. But honestly, we're already getting some juice going on this book to come, and it's starting to take over. These things take over.
Yeah.
Do we think we're going to make a movie? There was this place called La Jolla. Oh. And Disney did a play here in La Jolla of Peter and the Starcatchers. And it was very successful in that they got what they wanted out of the people of La Jolla, which was feedback. The audience would stay and talk to them, and they would change it every day. Every day it was a different play. And by the end of it, they really liked what they got. So they are trying right now to bring it to New York City. And it's expensive and difficult and tricky, but they're really trying hard. So if it goes to New York City and plays for a while, that's what they call it, playing for a while, in New York City, then yeah, there will be movies after that. But that's kind of the next step to get it closer to movies.
Yeah.
How were the Shadow Thieves like Alba created?
Well, we sort of talk about that in the third book, in Peter and the Secret of Dune. And I don't want to get too cosmic, but basically we're saying there's dark and there's light, and they both have intelligence, and they both do things.
When you get into higher science, there's a thing called dark matter. And that may explain it in about 12 years.
But basically, we're trying to think of what would, if you go like pure evil, what would it be? You know, it would be like this shadows thing. I mean, there really is no logical explanation for them. But we do think they're pretty cool villains. Yeah.
You guys really like leaving us hanging, don't you?
Yes, we do. We do that a lot. But theoretically, at the end of the book, you kind of know most of what you want to know, don't you? We hope.
Oh, yeah.
And we always like to think there's some things you don't yet know. Do any grown-ups have? Yeah, go ahead.
Do you ever base things they do or what they say on things you do during the day?
Well, the question is, do we ever base what our characters do on us or things that happen to us? Yeah, sort of. I mean, when we write what kids do in the books, I think we're at least partly thinking of ourselves when we were younger, and partly thinking of our own kids. We both have.
And for Peter and the Shadow Thieves, we went to England and went to all the spots that are in the book and actually sort of did what the characters do. And at one point we had hired a guide to drive us down to Stonehenge. You know, he knows everything about the history of England and the history of Stonehenge. It's what he does for a living, and we take this long drive, and he's kind of lecturing us on it and everything. We get down to Stonehenge. It's a cold March day, and he starts in, you know, when the Druids first, you know, and Dave stops and says, actually, it's just that you, as a guide, you have the right to cross that little line that we're not allowed to cross, and we wondered if a person kneeled in that trench, if we could see him. And he said, you mean, and Dave said, yeah, all we want you to do is go kneel in that ditch. And so the guy says, well, all right, and he, you know, gets over the thing, and he goes, is this good? And Dave said, yeah, that's good, we can't see, okay, we can go now. And he said, you want to go now? You know, we just got here. And Dave said, yeah, that's all we came for. And he said, this is the most unusual tour. But so we try to do things so that when we write about them, they're more accurate. I write a series called The Kingdom Keepers about 5 kids who get into Disney World after dark. And the only way I would agree to write that for Disney is if they gave me access to their theme parks. So on a number of occasions at 5 in the morning when the parks are all shut down, I've gone in them with just one other guy, dead empty park, and gone into the rides that they have and walked around them and seen them and taken all these notes. Then they turn the rides on and let me ride in it alone. And then the people come in and I take all these notes, and then in the Kingdom Keepers, I put all that stuff into the book. So we use our own experiences as much as we can. Dave is the better flyer than me, so you know.
Frequent flyer, yeah.
Dave, you and Ridley, you know, like a band, some guys focus
Are
on
you David
music.
Moscato?
I am Dave Moscato.
Okay, just
Nice to
checking.
see you.
I have a psychic ability to recognize people.
You know, like a band, some guy will...
He went to junior high school with my wife.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all. He was voted cutest.
Did you see
Your
this?
wife was.
No, I guess you did.
He was, and not only was he voted cutest, but then Michelle has her yearbook, my wife, because she saves everything, and he'd have his yearbook. But so he wanted her to make a copy of the page where it shows that he was the cutest. Am I right?
Yeah, you're
Okay,
right.
now-
Now that I'm embarrassed.
She was nice. I think, and we think you're still pretty cute.
Thank you.
But anyway, what's the question? Or too embarrassed now?
Like a band where some guys focus on the lyrics and other guys focus on the music. How do you guys write together? And does one of you take one part or the other, or just throw ideas against each other? Or what?
Yeah, we basically go by characters, you know, and not always, but they just certain chapters feel like Ridley chapters, and certain chapters feel like me chapters, and whichever one feels that, you know, we don't really argue about it. So I'll do that one, and you write it, and then you send it to the other guy. But then the other guy changes it, so it becomes everybody's chapter pretty quickly. We do have some pretty entertaining debates, considering that we're grown-ups. Like I once said to Ridley, with an angry voice, that I wasn't joking about it. I meant I was angry. I was not trying to be funny. I said, a mermaid would not do that.
And I tend to overcomplicate stories in general, and Dave, you know, hates that. So we got this catchphrase when anything gets overcomplicated. The catchphrase is time traveling hamsters. So you know, we'll have something where we have to get somebody from the bottom of the ship to the top of the ship, and I'll go,
Ridley will come up with a way to
well,
do
he could
that.
go through the hatch, and
that
then up the sail, and then
involves
across the other way, and
uranium.
then down the thing, and over the thing, and he'll just interrupt me and go, Ridley! That's time traveling hamsters. We're just gonna have them go up the ladder. You know? Oh, okay.
We'll take maybe one more, and then yeah.
Why is Tink always so jealous?
Because, well,
We
we
love
really
Tink.
love Tink. She's one of our favorite characters. She's, and we kind of took this from the Disney cartoon Tink, who is not really that. She likes Peter, but she's kind of jealous of everybody else. So our Tink really thinks everybody else is basically an idiot, and would like the world to be just her and Peter Pan. And so these other girls who keep showing up and befriending Peter, she doesn't like them at all, and never will like them. She's very loyal to him, and she in the end always does the right thing, always. But sometimes it's a great effort for her to be nice to anybody except for Peter. Anyway, we'll be, if you have more questions, we'll be happy to answer, or just say hi to you, or sign your book, anything you want. Thank you all so much for coming out. Thank you for